My name is Kirsten Williams. I'm the Chief Communications and Stakeholder Engagement Officer. And I have I don't know if I want to call them my starting five or what the perfect lineup is to tell you about these fantastic individuals who are on tonight as well. So we have Will Elledge, Sean Moore, and Jeannie Purchase. And I'm not going to go through all of their. Amy, if you could go to the next slide for me, that'd be great. I'm not going to go through all of their resumes and vitaes, but they certainly are the most prime subject matter experts with our lead free DC initiative and can explain everything from our Buy Black program to the voluntary um, aspects that we have if you are, not identified as one of the blocks we're going to be doing construction on in the next couple of years. But we have a developed an agenda for tonight's presentation. And in the interest of everyone's time, since we only have a handful of guests, we thought we might do somewhat of an abbreviated presentation and overview just so that we could be a little bit more intimate with you all and address your questions firsthand instead of going through our proverbial dog and pony show. So what I do want to do before I go through some logistics, I do want to just very quickly go over why we're here. And if you can go to the next slide for me, Amy, that'd be great. We certainly have, you know and for a number of years, we have been talking about our lead free DC initiative and really our engagements to um, ensure that our customers and stakeholders are aware of this program, that you can take advantage of the opportunities, and certainly that we can keep you abreast of our efforts and what we're doing. So, our goal is certainly to eliminate all lead service lines by 2030. We have been working equitably throughout the District of Columbia. One of the things that we will, very briefly, touch upon, and then certainly I think the most efficient use of our time today is to get to your questions. But one of the things that we always like to do and highlight with this project, we have our strategic plan, and one of our imperatives is our equitable imperative. And this project really does touch upon not just the environmental justice initiatives that the current, federal government is advocating for. We really have looked at this project to try to ensure that we're addressing those who are most impacted by the health effects of lead in their drinking water. And certainly those are expecting mothers, young children, etc. So what we did when we originally launched this program back in 2019, we took a couple of years to really evaluate our plans and really rededicated our efforts to looking at this through an equitable lens to ensure that we are, targeting those populations, underserved communities, those most, again, vulnerable, susceptible to the health effects of lead. And then really took that historical knowledge of what's happened in the District of Columbia. Um, and our efforts have really been concentrated on, Ward 785, et cetera, east of the river. And I think to add on to that, I'd just be remiss that we've had phenomenal partners with the district government. Mayor Bowser, the council have certainly supported our efforts in trying to ensure that we can look at the cost savings of this program to find and identify financial resources to help aid those residents who may not have the individual abilities to have their lead service lines replaced, but can certainly do that through some free and discounted programs. And we've been very aggressive to date, not only about our education and outreach, but trying to make sure we can identify where we know we have lead. That's part of what our presentation and most, recent updates are about. But we're so proud of our lead service line replacements to date. The 4,000 may not seem like a large number to some, but for everything that it takes to, get that lead service line replaced, from working with the District Department of Transportation on permitting to doing outreach, really going door to door to ensure that our customers can take advantage of these programs. We're, proud of the ability to replace those 4,000, but also, proud of our plan moving forward to tackle that. So, Amy, if you could go to the next slide for me. And really, part of what we are here tonight is a part of that education and outreach. We, really want to assure that our residents and guests are aware of the health effects of lead service line replacements. And notably, what we are trying to do with that is to find community-based partners and groups to help spearhead this message for us. We certainly know that this effort is not going to be done solely by DC Water. As I mentioned, we've had, great partners through Mayor Bowser in the district government, and certainly the Council of the District of Columbia. But we look at this in our outreach campaign of, going to our advisory neighborhood commissions, working with those ANCs to ensure that they have the information, identifying our somewhat, we could call them influencers, the locations where we know residents go to receive information, be it your faith-based organizations, your libraries, schools. We are trying to touch, each and every person to help us expand the awareness and knowledge of this campaign. So luckily, something is working, because you saw our social media post or you received this update from one of our emails to encourage you to participate tonight, as we are, again, trying to ensure we educate as many residents as possible about how you can take advantage of our particular programs. And I am always not one to love acronyms, and I understand I've been doing what I always try my best not to do, which is to speak in acronym talk, so forgive me for that. But there are certainly variations of this program. We've tried to lump them all together as just the Lead Free DC initiative, and then to do that one-on-one basis about the individual aspects that might be best to replace your lead service line. I spoke about the voluntary program, which is an idea or an aspect of our initiative that if you have the ability financially to do this, we'll work in partnership to get that underway. There's also, other iterations. We call it the Buy Block project. That's already a part of our capital improvement plans and our already construction work. And that's where you really see a lot of our door-to-door engagements. And I won't go through all of those acronyms, but I did just want to speak to the variations of this program and really the partnerships that are required. We cannot do this alone. And really the critical aspects that we try to always speak about is that we are looking for partners. And you can be a partner if you're a resident and we're coming on your block. You can be a partner as someone who's interested in just, lead in general, and you can help be a part of our campaign by sharing this information, spreading the word about the different aspects. Again, our community-based organizations that have been critical. We've even partnered with the Department of Employment Services and found some what we call activators who are District of Columbia residents who are going, door to door with us. They have been phenomenal. That was really one of the takeaways we heard from our advocates who asked us to engage with our neighbors to help, really get us over the finish line. This past year, we had great success in our Buy Block project by getting customers to agree to allow us to enter their property. And that little technical nuance is critical for you to understand, because as DC Water, we don't have the ability just to come onto your private property and to replace the lead service line. So we have to get your agreement to do that. So that's why we have a really robust effort to ensure your understanding and awareness and education. And we were, really pleased about the 80% of our customers who took advantage of the Buy Block project. It's that 20%, that we're still, going above and beyond to try to ensure and educate so that when we come on your block and we disrupt your streets by doing our you know, street paving and all of those aspects that have to take place in order to replace the line, that we're not having to come back and do it in a piecemeal fashion. So it's important that we get our neighbors to help us spread the word about these projects so that you can too get us on your block and off your block as soon as possible, if we can get our customers to understand the importance of this initiative. So with that, I do think we have a good deal more of individuals who've agreed to join us today on this journey. We certainly want you to be able to ask your questions. That's why we're here. We know that social media is a great opportunity for us to engage you. We recognize that our letters and advertisements and all of those other avenues of outreach and education are great, but what we found the most success at is when we can engage our customers and really address your questions. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We have individuals who will be monitoring the chat tonight. What we'll do towards the end of the presentation, so if you've got a pressing question, we'll wait till the end, and then I'll walk you through how you will be a new attendee. And I know we've been in this virtual environment for quite some time now, and every platform is a little different, but with Microsoft Teams, we'll bring you all forward to ask your questions. So during the Q&A, I'll come back and stop playing Vanna White for this moment, and then we'll go back to being able to kind of filter through your questions. So with that, I am going to ask Amy to go to the next slide, and I will turn it over to Will. All you, Will.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kirsten, very much. I'm going to introduce briefly our inventory map and our new dashboard. This is a screen capture on the right side of the screen that you see there that shows what the inventory map looks like. In a minute, Jeannie's going to pull it up on screen and show you how to search for specific addresses. But what this inventory map shows is data for both the public side and the private side, what material we believe or know to be at each property within the district. The legend, in fact, if we go ahead and go to the next slide, the legend basically has 5 categories. Our previous inventory showed lead, no information, and non-lead. What we have now done is we've clarified, based on the confidence level of the data source that we have, if we have verified lead or suspected lead. So verified lead means our database shows that it's lead, and we have confidence in the data source. We have an inspection report or some other verified information that shows that it's verified lead information. For the suspected lead, it's a little bit different. We show that it's lead, but the data source isn't as high confidence. So those we're showing in orange. For no information, that's the same as it always has. It's basically we just don't have any information, and that represents about 13,000 services in the district. For the non-lead categories, it's similar to the lead. If we have suspected lead, we show those in green. Suspected non-lead, we show those in green. That's where our database shows copper or some other non-lead material, but the data source is not a high confidence data source. We might not have an inspection report. We might not have a permit application or that kind of information. But when we do have that information, we know that that's high confidence information, and therefore we're calling that verified non-lead. By the time we get to 2030, everything will be blue on this map. On the next slide, we'll show you a quick look at the construction dashboard. This is also available on the website, and Jeannie's also going to show you a quick walkthrough of how to use this. The address is right there on the bottom, and it looks like it might be in the chat now as well. But basically, what this allows you to do is find out what the status of construction for your block is. For a lot of blocks, it's going to say that it's in the future, that we have a plan, but that it's not necessarily scheduled yet. For some addresses, though, like the one that we're showing here on screen, or that we were showing on screen. Now we go, there we go again. You can see in the bottom left corner that we actually have the construction contractor's information with the contractor's name, when that construction project started, which is this year, and when that project is ending next year. And then we have contact information for the contractor so you can get more specific address for your specific block. On the right half of the screen there, you can see the address that we looked up, and there's some information as well about agreement status, if it's unsigned or signed, and there's a little note there to be able to sign up so that we can replace your private side service as well. And then we also have the information about suspected lead showing there on the private side and public side. And then that yellow box is basically just telling you what the status of the construction is, whether it's scheduled, planned, but not yet scheduled, or if you're possibly eligible for one of our other programs, such as that could possibly accelerate or give you a discounted lead service replacement even sooner. And with that, I'm actually going to pass it over to Jeannie to go through a walkthrough of the website and how to use those tools.
Good evening, everyone. I have Amy Kennedy working with me to navigate the map for us tonight. And so we are looking up the first address, which is 1701 V Street Northwest. And so when you go into the lead map, that is what you will see. It's the link that I believe Lauren put in the chat. And so for 1701 V Street, once you select that address, a pop-up should come up. There it is. So for this, no matter what address that you choose, this is what will be the information that's presented. And so this is a blue, well, a home that is verified non-lead and it's indicated with blue. You are able to see in the public space, it says that it is verified non-lead, and we actually have in the description what our data source is as to how we know, and we went there in 2017. And then also in the private space, it says verified non-lead with the same information. And so as Will Elledge said a little bit earlier, we have the inspection reports that will help us for all of the ones that are verified, whether it's verified lead or verified non-lead. But the public and private space are what change, what program, as well as what color. Amy, can you get us to the next address? So we're going to 5065 Just Street Northeast. This is a suspected non-lead home. So just like Will said a bit earlier, these are homes that previously all were green, but we need more information to make sure that they are what they say they are. Amy, are we good?
Apologies, I'm experiencing a slight delay. I'll be there in just a moment with you.
There's a lot of data. Okay, so for 5065 Just Street Northeast, you see at the top, it says our premise material status is suspected non-lead. On the public space, it says verified non-lead in the public space. However, if you go down to the private space section, it says suspected non-lead due to the fact that we know that the public side is non-lead, but we need additional information because we do not have the proof behind that being non-lead, which means we will need to conduct test pits in order to get concrete data. We're going to now go to the next address, which is 1630 3rd Street Northeast. So this one is a verified lead home where we know on public space that we have data that's told us that it was lead. And then on the private space, we have information that lets us know that that's likely lead too. So that is how we know definitively whether it is verified non-lead, which was our blue in our first example, and then we have our verified lead. But when it comes to suspected, those are the ones we need to have more information. So Amy, can you go to one home that is suspected? So this is similar to what I mentioned before, where it just lets you know that we need additional information for both sides. And then the no information, which is our yellow, it essentially says that we need more information because we don't know on the public or the private side what is the information. So, all right, Amy, let's go to the construction dashboard. So this is a construction dashboard. That link is also in the chat. And so this is our last home that we were at, the verified lead home. And so this actually is a verified lead on the private space and a verified non-lead on the public space. But the way that we identify these homes is that we go to the, I guess, the worst, or I guess I would say the worst description to let homeowners know that we don't want them believing like there is non-lead. We want them to know when they look at the map that there is lead at their home. And so for this particular house, it is under the construction status of in progress. And so as Will had described in our bottom left corner, we do know when the construction start is and where it's anticipated to end, but the contractor is pending. Most likely that means that it is under contract and we have not assigned that package to a specific contractor. However, it has been added and we know we are going to this particular home, and it's a part of the buy block program, package 15. So let's go to the next address. We're going to go to essentially one of all the colors so that each homeowner will know, depending on what they see, what to do. And thank you for your patience with technology. Okay, so this home is what we are looking forward to seeing the entire district look like when it comes to completed status. So it is verified non-lead. If we go from the top, it's going down. We have the signed agreement that this homeowner participated in the program. We changed both sides of their service. It was a part of the small diameter water main program, the acronym right there, 14B. And if you go down or you look in our bottom left-hand corner, you see which contractor completed the work. And so you will have the contractor who is working on the work with when the service work is being conducted, but when it's completed, we are able to see all of this wonderful information. Rebecca, I see your comments in the chats. We'll make sure that we get those answered for you. If we're not able to get it done here, then we can have someone set up a time to talk with you. So we are now at the 5310 Kansas Avenue Northwest address. And so this home has an unsigned agreement right now. And so this particular homeowner can go in here and sign up for the program. But we are able to see the material status as suspected lead on both the public and the private side. It has already been assigned a package where it's a part of the small diameter water main 18A project. And then we are currently in contracting to be able to get the contractor and the information. And the significance of having the program type and the construction ID, like the small diameter water main 18A, it helps when you pick up the phone and ask questions. So if the contractor's information is at the bottom and you were to call, you could just let them know that you're a part of that program, and it can help guide them to your particular information quicker. Or if you're on the phone with someone in customer service, that will be the first thing that they look to in order to determine who's the right person to get in contact with, or the program manager on the project. This is another home that has had work completed for the buy block program that we began when we first started our project. So this is 1415 Carrollsburg Place Southwest, and it is a project that is pending on a block. And so we know that this is going to be a project, a buy block project, or a part of another program going down the line. However, it has not been added. And so that means that this project will be completed in a few years, not necessarily in fiscal year 24, 25, but closer to 27, 28, 29. But when looking at that, then you can contact DC Water to determine if you like to have that service replaced sooner. And you can be a part of either the voluntary for early replacement program or the lead pipe replacement assistance program. Amy, we are going to wrap this up. I think that Sean is next. Is that correct?
That is correct, I believe. So, Amy, if you can advance us, China will go into a few more details. And I was going to go back to Miss Rebecca. I'm sorry, I don't have a last name for you, so I apologize for utilizing your first name. But if you want to raise some general questions in the chat, I think, sometimes those questions can be helpful for others who may be thinking about it. But as Jeannie noted, we'll certainly follow up with you individually and get those handled. But we wanted to also ask you to do that. That might be helpful in the interest of time. So Sean, turning it over to you.
Perfect, thank you. My name is Sean Moore, and I am the Stakeholder Outreach Manager for our Lead-Free DC program. I'm excited, happy to be here to talk to you a little bit about more about Lead-Free DC. So we've talked about the map and we've talked about the tools that we have now, but just a reminder to why this Lead-Free DC initiative is here. And the key piece here is lead and dealing with lead, because of course, who's most vulnerable to lead? And that would be infants and children. You can see through decreases in IQ and attention span and behavioral issues. So there's issues for pregnant women, especially because lead exposure can be transferred to the child. And also for adults, there's increased risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and other nervous system problems. And all these negative results inform the reason why DC Water is really focused on getting rid of all the lead water service lines in the city by 2030. Next slide. Amy. There we go. So as we look at this, there's DC Water looks at the city holistically. And so we've done a prioritization model to help inform us as to where we want to focus our efforts on removing lead service lines. And a part of that prioritization model, we look at a number of different things. We look at our underserved areas. So those are informed by race and income. We look at vulnerable populations. A lot of that has to deal with children under 5, as well as lead levels. And also we look at the concentration of lead service lines. And that's informed by our service line inventory. So we look at those 3 areas, and all that data is put into a prioritization model. And that model helps us define the areas that we're going to focus our lead-free DC replacement efforts first. You can go to our next slide. So what is the DC Water lead-free plan? So we're replacing lead services through our BiBlock program and our small diameter water main programs. And we're doing these replacements through 2029. If you all had a chance to see the construction dashboard, and that dashboard can help you see when your block is scheduled. And if you want to have your service line replaced sooner, you can go to our dcwater.com/replace lead, and that'll give you some great options, the available options for you to change your lead service lines. I think the key thing that everyone should understand is that by 2030, every lead service line in the district should be replaced. And so everyone in the district will have that. If they have a lead service line, they will have that opportunity to have that lead service line replaced for free. So what do we need from you? And we're excited that you joined us for this webinar, because the key thing we need your help. The key piece of this process and getting lead service line replaced is to get residents to sign the agreements. I know Kirsten referred to that earlier, that we need to get that access to the private property. Well, we do that through this lead service line replacement agreement. And so DC Water gets that permission when we have folks sign up for the program and sign the agreement. As we go out across the city, we have a full court press of canvassers and advertising and other things to create awareness. We also need your help to encourage homeowners to sign up and return agreements, and to be on the lookout for our team that are in various communities across the city. Because again, it is a citywide effort. We're doing blocks in right now we are working, preparing construction for blocks in all 8 wards. So it's not just a Ward 7 or Ward 1 initiative. It is a citywide initiative. And we're looking to have everyone, every community organization, every person, every community leader to support us in this effort, so that we can meet that goal of getting all these service lines replaced by 2030. So we want your help to encourage the residents in your community. They can visit dcwater.com/lead to learn about these things. We wanted to share these tools with you so that you're aware and you can share them with other folks so that they know what's available to them, so they can understand if they have a lead service line and understand the options that they have to get it replaced. So how can you, how do you engage with Lead-Free DC? So two things. We have our lead hotline, which is our 202-787-4044 number, and we have an email address at lead@dcwater.com. Or you can also check the lead map at dcwater.com/leadmap, and that'll help you determine if you have a lead pipe and how to replace it. The second thing that you do is you can request presentations for your ANC, your community organization, your church, or anyone by reaching out to me. Again, Sean Moore, sean.moore@dcwater.com. And my number's right there on the screen, the 202-787-4049. I would be happy and excited to come out and talk to you, your neighbors, your community, your groups about Lead-Free DC, and talk about the opportunity that we have to reach this goal to remove all the lead service lines in the city by 2030. So upcoming, we actually have these events, the Ward 4 Carriers Days. I'll be at those events August 10th, 17th, and September 7th. I'll also be at a couple of the Ward 8 resources to the blocks. I have one this week and one coming up, I think, next week. So any community events like those, if you could make us, if we're not aware of them, please make us aware of them so that we can come out and speak to or have tables and participate in your community days so that we can spread the message about Lead-Free DC. So, everything that you want to know about Lead-Free DC is available to you. Everything we talked about today is at dcwater.com/lead. That construction dashboard, the inventory map, we have fact sheets. The whole Lead-Free DC plan is there. A lot more information about the health effects of lead. And there's even information as to how you can identify the type of service line that you have in your house, as well as finding out how you can have your water tested for lead. So there's a myriad of resources available at dcwater.com/lead. And I would encourage you to go there and take a look at it. And then of course you have our contact information if you have any questions.
Okay, Sean. So I think we're turning it back over to me, and I certainly appreciate the Miss Rebecca for you putting your information in the chat. Those were some great points, and I think it's certainly information that we really like to have and to understand that background to ensure that we can address your questions. I know the team asked if you could email. When we did the registration, we do that because it helps us, one, get your contact information in these moments like this when we want to be able to address your pointed questions and ensure the team can go out and do that. So if you did not, when you registered, put your contact information in, if you could, for anyone who is joined today that may have a particular question, we do check this lead email address, and also to address the responsiveness about the lead number. So in a lot of instances, we are certainly trying to ensure that you leave your voice message so that we can understand how best to triage your question. At times, as you know, our call center representatives have general information, and a lot of times when we get these very specific questions, we like to be able to have the voicemail box so that we can again ensure, if it's about water quality, that we have a water quality expert. If it's about construction and restoration, we have, those subject matter experts address, or again, to the questions Rebecca asked, even about the history of identifying, lead at your particular address, etc. So, Teresa, I do apologize. I saw that I was calling you out or shouting you out in the beginning and forgot that we mute all of our attendees in the beginning, so just so we don't have the background noise and things of that nature. So thank you for putting that in there. I forgot to say that in the beginning of my haste of just jumping in the presentation, that everyone was muted in the beginning, to again ensure that we could get through the presentation and not have the background noise and things of that nature. So I do see that some of the questions are being asked, and thank you to the DC Water team for jumping in there to ensure that our guests can get their questions answered. If there is anyone who does have a question, if you raise your hand, we will then be able to take you out of your mute status and ask and be able to address your question. So I'll give you all a moment to do that. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand, and then we will move you to an ability to be able to ask your question. If not, and I get it, sometimes we all are a little shy at times, but if not, please, again, the lead contact information, Sean's contact information is there as well. If you know of an organization, be it a PTO to something even, grander, we will come out and make sure we give these presentations, because our shared goal is to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to learn about the Lead-Free DC initiative, and certainly to engage, our team. So I do see we had one hand raised. Amy, if you could let the gentleman in, and I accidentally raised my own hand looking at the chat.
Mr. Comer, you are now a presenter and you should be able to unmute yourself.
Mr. Comer, you're off of mute if you would like to ask your question.
Mr. Comer, if you're having some question.
No, sir, we're not able to hear you. No worries, it is okay. As Mr. Comer is trying to be able to ask his question, is there anyone else who has a question? Amy, you're no longer presenting. I was just going to ask if you could put that contact information slide back up for us. I think that might be helpful for the attendees. And we certainly recognize that it is the summer, and if you're like me, you're in countdown to our kids going back to school and doing all those final presentations. And we know the District of Columbia somewhat takes a little lull in August, which is why we wanted to do this. We certainly are going to have other webinars so we can educate our stakeholders about this initiative, and certainly the new map and how to navigate identifying, what is potential. Oh, Mr. Comer, I saw it sounded like you might have. Let's try you one more time. Let's see if we can. Mr. Comer? No worries, sir. We hopefully, if we can get that last slide back up. I'm not able to see it, but if we could do that, that'd be great. So please feel free to reach out to us and get your question. We want to ensure that we could address your question. So I don't know if someone from the team can put the presentation back up just so that everyone can continue to see that last how to contact us slide. And with that, it doesn't seem that there are any more questions. So I will wrap us up again, just with some highlights of why we're here again. Certainly, this is, okay, so Miss Teresa, I have a message from Teams that, okay, I may be able to.
Yes, Ms. Teresa, each attendee camera and audio would be disabled, and we would just if you have a question, I'm more than happy to make you a presenter so you can speak. One moment.
And I just brought her in. So Miss Teresa, if you're able, we can hear you. Ma'am, do you have a question?
It won't let me.
So you're unmuted. I actually unmuted you. So I think you were accidentally muting yourself back. So you are currently unmuted and your camera is enabled if you would like to.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
All right, well, all right.
Technology.
Yeah, it was kind of iffy earlier. So I have been verified as having a lead service line because I did the water testing. And the database shows me as verified lead. But, when they did my testing, they asked me, well, I asked them, I said, okay, so I'm in a row house. My front yard is like 10 by 15. And it's like I have a cherry tree up front. And I saw the neighbors get their lead water line replaced next door. And they basically, chewed up the entire front yard. And luckily they had some sod. They put the sod back down over it. But it's like, if this happens to my front yard, my cherry tree is going to die. And ask, what are you going to do about that? And they, DC Water basically said, well, you have to talk to the contractor and make a contract before they can even tell you what they can do with your front yard. So I'm thinking, is that true? Do I have to actually have a contract before they would tell me if they're going to kill my tree up front?
Sean, do you want to walk through what how we're having the message we have there with the activators and how we're handling that?
Oh, certainly. So the way when we talk about that, and it's not necessarily a contract, but what we do is when you're out in your situation, you have a cherry tree in your yard. As a part of the process, we dig a hole at the meter, and then there's usually a small hole dug at the property line. And it varies depending on how your yard is situated. We don't dig like a big hole in your yard, a trench, but we use a small, it's called like a bullet is what it's called basically. It's a pneumatic device that goes through, and that's how we put in the new line. So typically we're able to go below something like a tree so that we wouldn't disturb that. But in your instance, what would happen is if when we came around and we wanted to get you with the agreement, and you had the concern with the tree, so what you would do is we would have our construction inspector come out and talk to you about what your key concerns are with the tree. We would document the tree, and and then make sure that any work that we did would not affect your roots or your tree. Because the goal here is to replace your service line and to leave your house back the way we found it. So, we want to make sure that we document what you have before and what you have after, so that it is, that we leave it in the same condition. So, so the key thing here is, yes, it's not a contract per se, but it is, we want to understand your key concerns and then, you know, make note of those and make sure that, you know, we use that guidance in how we approach the service line replacement for your particular resident.
So even though the hole that we have to dig in my front yard is probably a quarter of the space of my front yard, that's why I'm worried about the tree.
Right, and that's why in your case, I would have our guy come out and look at it, and then you could talk about the options, because we don't want to hurt your tree. We just want to replace it and leave it back, everything back the way it is. And so, you know, there could be multiple options as to how we could replace that service line without impacting that tree. So, and those are case by case basis. You know, so, you know, we would, you know, definitely work with you to figure out how we could do it without, you know, impacting your tree. And, you know, I recognize that some of the yards are really small and it can be challenging, but, you know, but it is possible. So we would definitely look for a way to do it without, you know, just damaging your tree.
Well, thank you.
So, Ms. Teresa, I think what's critical for me in this juncture is to make sure that we can get your contact information, or if you want to reach out to Sean, and his contact information is in the chat, or to email the lead email line, so that we can set up that appointment and talk, you know, collectively together. I think would be, you know, most advantageous. As you said, you know, our goal is certainly, no matter the, you know, the size of your yard, to ensure that in some instances we even put your yard back better than it was. So in this moment, I think that'd be really great if we could go ahead and ensure the appropriate representatives can meet with you to discuss your concerns.
So I looked at your website for the contract thing, you know, while you were talking, and it seems like you don't even have a schedule for my block. So I'm kind of waiting until you're going to come around and replace, you know, the main line to do my service line as well. You know, if you're not going to be till 2020, I don't think we need to have a conversation.
And that is a great point. So, you know, this is a 2030 initiative, and certainly we are not going to be able to get, even though we are certainly trying to get to everyone as quickly as possible, you know, in order to do this most economically, you know, we do have to proceed in a manner that's, you know, year over year tackling the program. So if she's not on the map, do we have a
Can I just clarify that last point, Ms. Teresa? When you typed it in on your block, it came up as orange, presumably?
Orange. No, my house was definitely lead. The block said pending.
Pending, yeah. So I think it'd be good to have someone on Sean's team come out and take a look. What that does mean, it's out in the future a little ways. And Sean, that may have, when Teresa was talking about what the team told her, that it may have been because we don't have a contract with a construction contractor to go out and do that work yet. That might have just been a miscommunication on our part. That might have been what they were saying. Because if it's orange, that work won't happen until well, it's not going to happen in something that's already got a schedule. So it's out a couple years at least, and maybe possibly more like 3 or 4, depending.
So does pending mean several years out?
What pending means is that we have your block in our plan, but it doesn't have a contract assigned, so it doesn't have a specific schedule. It's in the list of contracts that we're going to put out, but it hasn't. But that contract hasn't reached kind of its point of we're not ready to put it out for construction solicitation yet. We haven't advertised it for a construction contractor to do that work yet. So the schedule is still, we're treating it as tentative, basically.
Yeah. Ms. Teresa, if you would please just give me a call or send me an email and we can talk about that further. This is Sean.
All right, I don't know what your contact information is, but
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat.
okay.
Are you able to see? If you might have to scroll up a little ways.
Yeah, I can see the chat.
Okay.
And I don't want to take any more time here for
No,
myself.
no, this is, we appreciate your questions. They certainly help us. One of the things that we try to do when we are going out is to collect as much data that we have in ranges of, you know, how quickly customers are saying yes to giving us permission to come on to their private property, to even why, you know, some customers may say no. So this helps us to understand what information we have to improve. And so no question is a bad question for that very reason, that it just truly helps us as we continue to educate our customers about this plan. Are there any other questions this evening? I didn't see any other questions.
I just see a question from Rebecca. Can you clarify the yellow-orange status? Where would I see the color? There is a randomly placed yellow dot on the map and the contractor says pending. So is it in progress, yellow, or pending, orange?
So that yeah, Amy and Rita, that does actually point something that we might want to adjust in the map. So yellow, if you see a yellow dot, there's also a yellow block on the right half of the screen. Amy, can you go back to slide 10, the construction dashboard? And while she's getting there, so if the dot is yellow in the middle part of the map, and then in the bottom right, there's a big yellow box that says lead-free DC block construction schedule or construction status. And that means that the lead service replacement project is in progress on a block. When in the bottom right corner, so you can see that it's a little bit faded on the map because it's yellow and it just happens to be next to Glover Park, which is kind of all faded back on the map. That all means that the construction project has been identified and it's out for solicitation. On this example, in the far bottom left corner, it says Fort Myer. That's the name of the contractor. It sounds like in your example, it says pending there. That pending means that while that contract is out for solicitation is in process, the contract has not yet been finalized with that contractor. So we wouldn't put their name in there until we have an actual contract in place. So what that means is that the contract is getting there. It's about to start. It's just not quite started yet. And the confusion is because we have pending down there, but we also have pending in the legend under the orange. And we probably ought to take a look at that to confuse that, or to straighten up that confusion. Is that what you're seeing on your block? Oh, there's the 1600 block of K Street. Go there myself. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up myself too. 16. I'm going to say 01 A Street Northeast. No, there is no 1601. It's 1602. Northeast. Yeah, that's exactly what that means. So right next to Eastern. That just means that the contractor is still pending because we haven't actually executed the contract yet. And right there on the right half, it says construction package number 15. So that project won't actually start construction until the winter time, sometime between October and December, somewhere in that time frame. And that construction will last 2 years. So there's a lot of addresses in that construction package. So what we'll want to do once the contractor is identified is connect you so that you can figure out where within that 2-year period construction on your block will actually happen. That's why we have the contractor's contact information in there, because the dates are for the whole contract, which include anywhere from 50 to 400 blocks. So. Does that answer I hope that answers the question. Don't need to invest in bottled water.
I do not see any other questions at this time.
Give it maybe just another 1 to 2 minutes to see if any other questions pop up, and then Kirsten, let us know when you're ready to close us out.
So thank you so much, everyone, for participating. This is something that I joined DC Water a few years ago and knew a little bit about our major initiatives and some of the work we were doing. But I'll tell you that this project is something that we are all so proud of, and not because we are being forced to replace our lead service lines. This is something that our CEO and general manager was committed to doing, years before the federal, administration really tackled this topic. And we certainly, from communications to engineering to finance and government affairs, the entire authority has wrapped ourselves around this project because we are passionate about it, and we can't do it alone. And I hope that was the major takeaway, in addition to our new identification of additional lead service lines and the updates to the map. But this partnership that we are on is something that we need your help with. So I'm leaving the message tonight with thanking you for participating and engaging us to learn more about this project. But please spread the word to your neighbors, talk about it in your organizations, share it, reach out to us, and we will come to a backyard event as much as we'll go to some large event. And we are committed to ensuring our customers and our neighbors and friends know how to take advantage of the free opportunities, know how to take advantage of every opportunity to get their lead service lines replaced. So thank you so much to the DC Water team for continuing to go on this journey of education and outreach with me, but certainly thank you to our customers for participating tonight. Again, we know it's the summer and it's 6:30 on the evening, and you could be barbecuing since the weather is nice today, but thank you, and certainly reach out to us with the lead@dcwater.com, or feel free to call the hotline. If you don't get an individual, it is okay. Please leave a detailed message. We will make sure a subject matter expert gets back to you. And if there's any additional questions, Sean Moore, myself, anyone on the team will be readily available to assist as soon as we get that information from you. So thank you all again for participating tonight, and have a wonderful rest of your summer.